Hi class, so with this lecture we're going to talk about an effective way to transition between paragraphs. So when you're moving from paragraph to paragraph, you want to try to kind of maintain a flow, right? The transition should be as smoothly as possible. If not, your paper will feel kind of choppy and the reader might pause. So I'm going to talk about 4 types of paragraph hooks, right? Not the hooks that you use to begin a paper with. These are hooks that are used to kind of link paragraphs, right, from one paragraph to the next. All right, so let's take a look. It says, note the following paragraph, paying attention to its last sentence. Mark Twain is established in the minds of most Americans as a kindly humorist, a gentle and delightfully funny man. Notice the appositive phrase there. No doubt his photographs have helped promote this image. Everybody is familiar with the Twain face. He looks like every child's ideal grandfather, another positive, a dear old white-thatched gentleman who embodies the very spirit of loving kindness. I don't know about you, but it reminds me of the Kentucky Fried Chicken dude. And if you've seen pictures, it's kind of what it looks like. But it's not just about the image. I mean, that's part of it, but it's also about, yes, not just the looks, but the whole vibe, right? So there isn't anything as far as tone-wise negative. It's just describing this dear old white-thatched gentleman. All right, let's move on. So again, we're focusing on the last sentence, okay? The following sentence will be designated as the first sentence in the paragraph to follow. So if you don't understand or if that makes sense, the next sentence is supposed to be the topic sentence of the next paragraph. Twain wrote some of the most savage satire ever produced in America. Now, take a look at those 2 sentences. Hopefully you can see that they're unrelated and you couldn't go, right, a complete 180 as much as this did. Right, you're talking about the spirit-loving kindness, how he looked, to what he wrote. And he was a satirist, right? Satirist. He wrote a lot of negative things about the United States, and I think he invented the term the Gilded Age. I think during England it was the Golden Age. Well, he called the United States the Gilded Age. And if anything's gilded, it's like a fake layer of gold, right? Okay? But back to our point, these are completely different. See that? Notice that the idea at the end of the first paragraph is completely different than the idea introduced in the second paragraph. The writer, you, me, must provide the transition between these 2 paragraphs, especially since there is a change in content from how Twain looked to how he wrote right here. All right, so how do we do that? Well, we are going to learn about 4 different types of paragraph hooks. Transitional expressions are important but should not be overused so that obvious. Another kind of transition that is stronger and subtler is the paragraph hook. So what we're saying here is these transitional expressions, like the ones that we're taught when we're writing that 5-paragraph essay: first, second, last, or one reason, next reason, right? Things like that. Our first hook is, we're back to this sentence again. Our first hook is a simple hook. The last word of the first paragraph, that's this one, is hooked into the first sentence of the second paragraph and used as a point of departure for introducing another idea. Right? Here's an example. The loving kindness begins to look a little doubtful in view of some of his writing, for Twain wrote some of the most savage satire ever produced in America. Let's get a better look here. You see that? See how they're linked? I've noticed in a couple of our chapters and a couple of the articles about education, the writers did some of these. All right, next, deeper hook. You can go back further into the last sentence, sometimes to even better effect. Here's an example. The dear old white-thatched gentleman happens to be the author of some of the most savage satire ever produced in America. So what do? Well, let's take a look. Right? This was a simple hook is when you take the last word. Now, obviously, that's not going to work all the time. Right? That's why there's other options. Deeper hook goes a little bit further back. but you can see the effect is still there. The multiple hook is if you go back deeper than the last sentence, you will usually need a multiple hook. Here's an example. To accept such an image is to betray greater familiarity with the photographs than with the writing, for Twain wrote some of the most savage satire ever produced in America. Right? So to accept such an image, we're image in the photographs, right? So look at how we've taken a couple of photographs we have here, but image kind of takes all of this. But it still works though, right? So with this multiple hook, right, we're looking at multiple ideas. Now, the last one would be an idea hook. An idea hooks into the preceding paragraph, but instead of repeating an exact word or phrase, refers to the idea just expressed, compressing it into a single phrase. Again, such a view of Twain would probably have been a source of high amusement. Such a view. What view? That kindly, gentle, right? So we've taken that whole paragraph and we summed it up with one word, view. Would probably have been a source of high amusement to the author himself, for Twain was some of the most savage satire ever produced in America. There's another example. Any resemblance between this popular portrait, again, he looks like the Kentucky Fried Chicken guy, and the man who reveals himself in his writing is purely imaginary, for Twain was some of the most savage satire ever produced in America. And those are your paragraph hooks. There again, right? Such a view. There's no view in here, right? There's no word view, but it's taking the idea. The idea. This is a popular view. And if you think about it, right, now it all makes sense. It's like the writer set up this paragraph to talk about, a lot of people when they see Mark Twain, he's in that white suit, right? Just like Colonel Sanders. So the writer can transition with just one word there, view. So I hope to see these in your papers. So I want to see you experimenting, okay? Thanks for listening.